welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Serene, and today I'm about to discuss day 11 and 12. So day 11, which would have been Monday this week, um before they got the jury into the courtroom, there were some things that needed to be discussed. But before we get into that, let me go ahead and state once again, I am no expert at anything. I am no judge, lawyer, and doctor, none of that. Okay, this is all my measly opinion. You can either disagree to agree or agree to disagree. Either way, it's up to you and your business. Now, on day 11, they had a few things they handled before they brought the jury in and officially started the testimonies and all that. So the first thing that happened is because of the shooting of the 20-year-old young man that happened that Sunday evening, the defense moved to have the jury sequestered, which means he wanted to have them held there and isolated from everything else so that they won't know or use what happened. I get his words was, I guess they didn't want them to feel a certain way about what happened and bring it to that case. The judge denied it. The judge decided that it's already on a touchy thing that they are serving on this jury, and a lot of them all already expressed concerns about their safety because of whatever the outcome may be. Not everybody gonna be happy with it. People who feel that he not guilty not gonna be happy, and people that feel he is guilty, if they found him not guilty, not gonna be happy. So it's vice versa. They're gonna get it either way. It's how the jury was looking at it. So he said he's not gonna raise the tension in the jury by sequestering them when that case has nothing to do with this case, which I agree with him. The defense also pretty much demanded to know why the prosecutors would not give Maurice Hall immunity so that he could testify for the defense. The judge also denied and said the prosecution does not have to give that to the defense. And then he told the defense to write down the questions he wanted to ask, and then the judge himself will have a meeting with Maurice Hall and go through the questions. And if any of the questions he feel is not prevalent or is prevalent, he gonna decide whether or not they will basically haul Maurice Hall on up into the courtroom. And then if he testify and plead the fifth, because he don't want to say anything to incriminate himself, then he could be in contempt of court. If he's asked a question that has nothing to do with anything that could possibly have him prosecuted for something. So that was supposed to be what the judge did the next day. So the first witness that the prosecution had today was a cardiologist who stated that his name was Dr. Rich, by the way. And he stated that he felt George Floyd actually had an exceptionally strong heart, even though it had some cloggedness going on in it, even though he had hypertension and all these other things. He still had a healthy, viable heart, basically, is what he is saying. So he definitely can say without any pause that without them holding him down and restraining him the way they were, George would have been fine if he basically wasn't restrained and smothered, because pretty much what they did. He also emphasized that he did not have a cardiac arrest like the state coroner claim. He also stated that he definitely didn't die from an overdose also. They The next witness after that was George Floyd's brother, Felonious Floyd. And he was there to testify to his character of who he was and how he was when he was alive. And of course, everyone can see the good in their loved ones. So of course, he had some really lovely stories about how his brother took care of them when he was younger. He's George Floyd's younger brother. And he stepped up and took care of them when their mother would go to work when they were younger. And and he explained how he made the best banana mayonnaise sandwiches, which, but moving on. And he said he also made the best syrup sandwiches, which, hey, everybody has that certain favorite thing. But he also discussed about how much of an excellent sportsman he was as far as with basketball. Apparently, he used to play basketball with actual NBA players. Apparently, he even played in China at one point for a game or two, and actually played on the regular with actual NBA players. He had them type of skills in the basketball world. He also let us know that he was an excellent football player. And he was really good at that, and how regimented he was in as far as working out. So yeah, I think that that's probably, even though he had cloggage in his heart, that's probably what kept his heart going, is the fact that he worked out on a regular. He stated that he had just got finished hooping the day he died, before he came to the store. That's what he was doing. He had went to play basketball with some friends. So he was still making sure he worked out, even though, he had all these other things going on with him. He also testified about how close George was to their mother. That he said he just had a seriously close relationship with her. He said it was times when George was a teenager, as big as he was, even then, how he would curl up almost in a fetal position under his mother and just lay there and talk to her and be with her. He just loved that. And even when his mother got older and got sick where she couldn't move on her own, he would pick her up and dance with her in the middle of the floor. Like that her favorite song to dance with him to was Al Green's Love and Happiness. One of my favorites. Anywho, and then when she died, how it broke him, how even at her funeral, he laid in her casket with his head in her casket and wouldn't stop kissing her cheek and just crying. And it took them a long time to get him away from her casket so they can close it and bury her. So yeah, it was sad. After his brother testified, that's when they had a Professor Stroden take the stand. And basically he was also a use of force expert. And basically he broke down the video in the same way all of us across America have seen it. George was not being violent towards them. He never tried to swing, kick, punch, spit, bite. He never tried to do any of that. And the only time he pushed back is when they tried to force him into the police vehicle, where he kept explaining to them he was caused. He also went on to explain that, as far as he concerned, that the prone position should never had even been done on George Floyd, because he was already in handcuffs when they took him out the back seat of the police car. So he could have simply just been put on his side from the start. There was no reason to ever put him on the ground in the prone position, period. Which I agree. And I'm sure everybody in common sense out here agree. He also stated that he did not feel 5 to 6 people on the sidewalk was considered a crowd. And it was even times where a few more people would come up, but then they would walk off, and nobody ever, again, that was standing there recording, ever threw anything at them, stepped towards them as in they were about to swing, hit, kick, spit, bite, nothing. No attacking. No, nothing. I mean, it wasn't even a whole bunch of we all gonna whoop your tail type of situation. And the loudest one out there was just the black dude, which I can't remember his name right now, but y'all know who I'm talking about. And he felt like that crowd didn't present itself as no danger to them, just like all the rest of us feel that crowd didn't present no danger to them. So, but whatever. We know that's just his lawyer trying to get him off for doing what he did. But one sentence that the professor used I definitely like is the fact that he said no reasonable, that was his word, no reasonable officer would agree that the use of force used on George Floyd was okay. He said it was unreasonable and that it is not part of the police practice, and it was very much so unnecessary. I also like that when he was cross-examined by the defense, and they kept trying to, because that's mainly what the defense, the one main thing the defense been doing throughout the whole state's case, and them cross-examining each one of their witnesses, is doing hypothetical questions. Now, I like the way this professor handled the hypothetical questions, because his thing was, if he said yes to something, his thing was say, yes, that may be true, but that does not pertain to this case. He repeatedly stated that every time he answered a hypothetical question from the defense. And I like that because he made sure to emphasize, and that may be true in the hypothetical statement you're making, but what happened here, right now, what we're here for right now, that don't apply to. And I like the fact he made sure he emphasized that deepishly. I love it. Love it. So, after that, that is when the state rested its case. And the state is done with their case. And today, which would be the 12th day, which is Tuesday. Let me fix my bow. The defense started their case. But the defense also requested that if they could not get Maurice Hall physically to the courtroom to answer questions, if they could use the recording from his interview he did with the police at the police station. And the judge said he would go over it and decide if that was true. And then he turned around and asked him what exactly was on the video that he felt he needed, and when he went to explain it, he told him no. So he denied that request. So he denied any of the recording statements from Maurice Hall brought into the courtroom. But I'm gonna tell you why I know that actually might have helped the defense, and I'm gonna tell you why later. But anywho, so today the first witness the defense put on was Scott Robin Creighton, which is a retired officer. And basically he was on there to discuss an incident that George Floyd had on May 6, 2019. And this was a time where according to the judge, he did a sidebar, and then he stated before they played the video of the incident, he said that and he instructed the jury that the only thing they supposed to take away from this video is the effect of drug or how drug opiates or opioids. Y'all know what I'm talking about. For some reason they won't come out. Affects someone when they're on it. But they were not to use it as for character of George's character. Now, they played the tape, and it was basically George in a passenger seat. It was somebody else doing the driving. They were pulled over, and I don't know exactly what the defense actually felt they were accomplishing with the video, but it wasn't much to me because you clearly see in the video when they pull over, it's two officers on George's side and another two officers on the driver's side. You have George, they telling him to show his hands. So he lift his hands up. So now the one on this side of him, closest to him, screaming, put it on the dashboard, which he did. Also, in between all this, George saying, please don't hurt me. I've been shot before. I don't want to be hurt. Just please, it's okay. Y'all can calm down. Because they got their guns out and everything. And then the other officer on the other side is screaming, take something out of his mouth. Even though George's hands on the dashboard, he's screaming for him to get something out of his mouth. George like, what is you talking about? So then at the same time, he got his hand on the dashboard where the first officer told him to put it. Okay, well now the officer on the other side of the door is screaming, put your hands on your head. So you got somebody screaming, put your hands on your head, put your hands on the dashboard, spit something out your mouth that he ain't got in his mouth. And all of them screaming at one time. Yeah, that's what you saw in the video. Then you see him grab George. George never fought with him, never pushed or anything. They put him in the handcuffs, and that was the end of the video. Now, George was talking to them. He didn't act like he was falling. He didn't, his speech wasn't slurred. None of that. So then after that, that's exactly what the prosecutor asked, which was a lady, who got up to question him. And I, for one, love the way she came at the at the witness, because she do it to the next witness too, because she's the one that questions the next witness. And the thing is, her questions was the logical, common sense ones. Did you actually see him put something in his mouth? No. Was his speech slurred? Did he comprehend what you were saying? Yes and no. So his speech wasn't slurred. He comprehended what you said. He answered every question. Did he walk on his own? Yes, he did. Okay. But you believe he was high on some type of substance. He said yes. He believed he was high on some type of opioid. Okay. Did you call an ambulance? Yes, they did. So George left that incident in the ambulance. They called ambulance. They didn't put him in a prone position or none of that. They called ambulance. So the next witness, that's Michelle Mosing. She was the EMT Came an ambulance to pick up George. Now she trying to say he seemed a little jittery. She kept trying to say he seemed jittery and all this other stuff. And that his heart rate was elevated, and that he asked her, did he tell her he had took some pills, and she said yes, but she couldn't remember if he said it was oxycodone or Percocets, which is funny because anybody that know anything about Percocets, oxycodone is like the generic version of Percocets. But yeah, the state asks her that, and she had to answer herself. But anywho, she tried to make it seem like he was just this jury drug acting druggy, and when she was cross-examined again, did he answer every one of your questions with any problem? Yes, he answered every last one of my questions. He had no problem. She also said, you said his heart rate was elevated, but yet you have it marked as normal. And then she said, well, no, it was times where she went through the list. She had it marked normal like 4 or 5 times on her notes. Again, like, come in, people. Let's not lie. Let's not do that. As far as I'm concerned, both of them lied. Sure did. Under oath. So, George also didn't want to go to the hospital that day. He kept telling them he was fine. He also told the lady he had been taking pills throughout the day, but he never admitted that he took pills at that time when he was in the car. But he did tell her that he had been popping pills throughout the day, and he said he had took like 10 or 20 that day before being in the car. She also asked him, did he obey all her demands? She said yes. She also asked if he ever fought back with her. She said no. That was the end of her. So then the third witness the defense called up today was Sharonda Hill, which was the young lady that was in the car with her and Maurice, and with George and Maurice. And honey, let's just say that Miss Sharonda Hill gave them every typical black, what's the word I'm looking for? She gave them every little stereotype, black girl stereotype that's out here, honey, with the rolling eyes, rolling neck, and attitude and all. You can tell that, honey, she did not want to be that at all for nobody. Not for the prosecutor and not for she wasn't there for the prosecutor. She was there for the defense. The defense is the one that subpoenaed her. Anywho, she didn't want to be there. She didn't want to be there at all, and I figured out why as he started questioning her. And the reason she didn't want to be there is because he specifically wanted her to say one specific thing, which was that George fell asleep in the car, and that's all he wanted to hear from her. And we figured that out, of course, if you're watching it also, by the simple fact when she says, well, when we was in the car, he told me he was sleepy. He shutted her up so quick, objected to her. It's on witness. So anywho, when the state prosecutors got to cross-examine her, they let her get her story out. She said that George told when her and George saw each other in the store, George was fine. He was dancing, he was laughing and talking. He gave her a good old hug. He told her he would take her, back to her house, back home. He did tell her when he was in the store that he was tired and sleepy. And when they got in the car, they were sitting there discussing and talking about what they were going to do. Her, Maurice Hall, and George. And in between them doing that, he fell asleep. Now, she said she woke him up when when they was in the car, when the people from the store came out to say the $20 bill was fake. She woke him up to let him know the people from the store said that 20 was fake. She said George fell back to sleep, and she told the people from the store, I will have him come in there in a minute. Just give me a minute to get him up, and I'll have him come in there. So they left. And then that's when she tried to wake George up again, and by then the police was there. Because she said she had let him sleep a little bit because she had got on her phone, was talking on her phone to her daughter. So anywho, by the time she went to wake George up again, the police was there, and she said the police came up on the side of the car with his gun already drawn on George. So when George woke up out of sleep, that was the first thing he saw was a police officer pointing a gun at him. So of course that startled him. He had just woken up, and he had no idea why the police was there at all. So, yeah. The bottom line is, it's ridiculous. It really, really is. So then, the fifth witness the defense called today was Officer McKenzie, who was Officer McKenzie was called as a training expert for the state. He recalled her to the stand to discuss what is excuse me. She was recalled to the stand to discuss what is excited delirium. And from what I'm taking it, excited delirium could be people who has a mental problem or people that's on drugs, and they can have super strength, hypertension, all kind of stuff going on with them, and you never really know how they're going to react to anything. When she was cross-examined, she also broke down that if you do feel a person have excited delirium, you never put them in a prone position. They should always be put in a side position so they have no mistaking of getting sick and throwing up and choking on it, or not being able to breathe, because they are at high risk for them not being able to breathe. Exactly what she said. So to me, again, that just gave more points to the prosecution, if you ask me. After her, I do not know the name of the last witness, which is the sixth witness, and he was the last witness of the day for the defense today on day 12. And basically, this man, who's also a retired use of force expert, literally sat there on that stand and said he didn't see not one thing wrong with what happened to George Floyd. He felt the crowd was definitely a danger to the police officers and a distraction to the police officers, and that any time the police deem anything as a threat, they have a right to use a use of force on you. Period. That's what he said. He even went so far as to say he never saw Officer Chauvin's knee on George's neck. It was on his upper back part. Right. So, when the state cross-examined him, of course, they put up video evidence and asked him to point out these things. And he even went as far as trying to say that It's George's fault that Chauvin's knee ended up on his neck. It was on his back, and then because of the bucking and moving motions George was doing, which none of us saw, he pushed his knee onto his neck. That's what he said. The prosecution on cross-examination of this retired use of force expert got him to admit he definitely had his knee on his neck. He definitely had some points in the video where his whole body and weight was on George, where both knees was on him and nothing was touching the ground. He also got him to admit it was only one person that was extremely loud and yelling from the crowd, and that was the young man in the hoodie who was a MMA fighter, the first person to testify in the trial. And yeah, there was no crowd behind them, no crowds on the side of them, not a bunch of cars coming down the street like he claimed. He even went to state that he felt the officers didn't roll him over because they didn't have room. I mean, he sounded so delusional, and just, the thing is, I don't understand how you explain seeing something on the video and completely call it something else. Like, people not, like, we ain't all looking at the same video. I don't understand how they legally can just do this in court. Like, they should not be allowed to call a black kettle white when we all looking at it and see it's black. You understand what I'm saying? And that's why I feel we dealing with a lot of that right now. I'm almost annoyed to even have to further watch the defense go any further. If this is the type of foolery we gonna have to listen to, but I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it because I promised myself I'm gonna stick with this trial to the end. But that is day 11 and 12 thus far. Hey, it's me, your girl Serene. We back with for day 13 of the trial, and yeah. So they handled some motions and things in the beginning, and then the defense witness for today was their own forensic pathologist, retired, named Dr. Fowler. If I'm not mistaken, he's from England. And yeah, he's retired. Seems like every witness they have is retired, but I guess that's nor here nor there. But anywho, the first thing the defense did today was put a motion in for acquittal, stating that the prosecution has not met their burden of proof on cause of death. The judge ignored it, so shall we. He denied it. We're going to move along. Next, we had Maurice Hall. He did come before the court without the jury. The jury was not in the court for any of these motions. Maurice Hall stated he did read over the questions that the judge had the defense and prosecutor write up for him, and he is pleading the fifth. He does not want to answer any questions whatsoever. In court, he does not want to testify. After that, that's when the retired forensic pathologist, Dr. Fowler, for the defense, took the stand. And y'all, this fool had the nerves to state that he feels George Floyd died of cardiac arrest and carbon monoxide poisoning from the vehicle tailpipe where his head was laying on the ground. And that those are the things that killed him. His bad heart, the drugs, the carbon monoxide from the car, and his hypertension. Those are what killed him. Not the knee in his neck, back, legs, arms, not all that. Not the people on top of him. No, it wasn't them. It was his heart, hypertension, drugs, and carbon monoxide. That's what he decided. I don't know about y'all, but I just feel like if I was part of that jury, I would feel like they trying to insult my intelligence. I'm just saying. So he goes on to further discuss a paper. I cannot remember. I think I might have wrote down who wrote this paper. Yep, I did. Dr. Donald Ray wrote us paper stating that, I guess he wrote a paper stating that the hog tie and prone position were okay. It was nothing wrong with him. And that, I'm sorry, not that it was nothing wrong with him. I'm sorry. He wrote a paper stating that the hog tie and that the prone position was harmful to people to be put in them. It was harmful for us. Well, this pathologist, forensic pathologist, stated that his paper, he did a retraction stating that it was not anything wrong with it and it was fine to use. Well, we all know what happened on cross-examination. When the prosecutors got up and got a hold of him, honey, it became a whole other story. They had the proof and all that doctor never retract his statement. He does, in fact, still believe it is a very bad thing to put someone in the hog position or the prone position. They also got him to admit that he was not told nor read in any report he was given that the vehicle that was next to Georgia, the police vehicle that was next to Georgia and where they was on the ground on that car, that police vehicle was on. He said the reason he believed it was on it because on the video he saw water leak from the tailpipe of the vehicle, which caused him to believe it was on. That's what he said. Mm-hmm.
Excuse me, darling. I have a message.
He also did admit that the Hill form that he tried to stay in direct questioning with the defense that it was a point in the video when George turned to talk to the police officer when he was in his car before they pulled him out of his car, his friend's car, that when his mouth was open, he could see a pill in his mouth, the drug in his mouth. Okay, well, when the prosecutors questioned him and showed him the same video, first they showed him a video of George in the store before he got in the car. Clearly, you can see on this video George chewing bubble gum. Bubble gum. So then when they run back the video that shows the so-called pill in his mouth, that's when he states he never stated it was a pill in his mouth and that he just said it was something in his mouth. Either way it goes, to me, this man was terrible. And I'm going to tell you why. I feel he was terrible. He lied about the retracted paper that he based the prone position is not harmful theory on, because the retraction never happened. And the prosecutor showed proof of it. Then his whole denial that his whole thing is that you have to have at least 250 pounds and up on someone to kill him is crock, a bunch of crock. Because come on, everybody has a own separate weight, bone density, all of that. We all heavy in our own type of way. Then he had to admit that even though he said Derek Chauvin only weighed 140 pounds, he did not take in consideration all the gear and equipment he had on his body that day, dressed in full uniform of police officer. He also didn't even factor in the fact that you also had two other police officers on this man. You're not going to tell me we're not well past 250 pounds at this point. Period. Anywho, he also seriously stated that he felt the knee in George's neck did nothing to him. But yet, when cross-examined, he clearly states that the way his knee, his left knee and right knee was on George, plus the other gentleman on his back and the other one holding his leg, by him being held down the way he was, it is very much so possible for him to die from asphyxia. So he admitted that on cross-examination, but on direct questioning, told us no, it couldn't harm him in any shape, way, or form. Period. Like, he didn't even say maybe little or nothing. He said it did not, it was no harm, no shape, way, or form. He also admitted that it takes only 4 minutes of a brain not receiving oxygen to be what did he say? Not the oxygen going 4 minutes without, the brain going 4 minutes without oxygen would make it very much so done. It would die. It would not be revived. The person wouldn't be revivable, is what he was saying. He admitted that, even though he didn't admit that on direct question. Matter of fact, he said it would be irreplaceable damages done to the brain. This is his exact words. He also admitted on cross-examination that he do feel that he feel the officer should have given George immediate medical care. So they should have tried to give him CPR or something once they realized he did not have a pulse. I know the defense have to put on a defense for their client to try to help him, but it should at least make sense. The fact that you trying to introduce all these new beliefs on how he died, this ain't even the stuff you've been screaming throughout the trial when he was going re-examination on the prosecution specialist. He didn't ask him nothing about no carbon monoxide or anything like that. But you come with a forensic pathologist who, by the way, went through his accreditations and come to find out the place that he mainly worked at was a paid medical facility. It was not a research facility. It wasn't like a hospital setting. It was literally a paid medical facility where he got paid to do different stuff there that did not make him a specialist at all. He didn't specialize in any of those things at all. And yeah, he admitted all of that on the stand too. So I don't know who next. He went ahead and ended the day for today, for day 13. He ended it because he said that it will take a while for the next witness to be questioned. So they will start that tomorrow. The questioning of that, whoever this next witness is. Well, we will see. But I just at this point, I don't understand how the defense plan on getting past the fact that the bottom line through all of this that's going on, this man had his knee on this man's neck for over 9 minutes and some change. And even after the other police officer told him George did not have a pulse, still had no care or no thought whatsoever to try to get this man any type of help. Not even to roll him over on his side, not to eat nothing, not a thing at all. At all. Like, seriously. I just, it's so terrible. So terrible. And I just don't see how you plan on escaping the fact that you most definitely responsible for this man's death. I don't. And I hope that the jury really sees that. And I think they will. I do. Because no one you have put on that stand yet, to me, have helped in any type of way to make it look any other way but what it looked like. Period. So we shall keep on watching and rolling until we get a verdict. So stay tuned for the next. What day 14 and 15 should be is next. It's Thursday and Friday. So if you made it to the end of my video, thank you for watching. Oh, and before I go, I forgot my little statement that I made, so I'm going to give it to you now. I am no expert. I am no judge. I am no lawyer. I am not a specialist. I'm none of these things. These are only my measly opinion. You can disagree to agree or agree to disagree. Either way it go. It's on you. But this is my opinion. So if you made it to the end of my video, thank you. And please don't forget to subscribe, like, share with your friends and family, and hit that notification bell so you'll be notified every time I upload a new video. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful day. Mwah.